allegiance in our hearts, shed waters in our pores. The spirit and the flesh, the emotions that arrest. The cerebral will contest, propelling the unrest. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded. The teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. With the semblance of a blaze, with gratitude and rage, we touch another page with delirious delight, impervious to light. This vitality and might encourages the flight. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. The world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Today we're using the lapel mic, the lavalier mic. So, pardon me, but let me get a 1 in the chat if the audio is clear. A little bit of housekeeping first and foremost. Let me get a 1 in the chat if the audio is clear enough, even though we're not using our podcasting microphone. Well, thank you very much. We shall remain equanimous with the situation. We shall not be disturbed or perturbed by it. Now, will we? We shall remain in a state of mindful concentration and presence, which is right in line with our topic today. Today we're talking about how to meditate, part 4. And as some of you might know, we've done another 4-part series on why you should meditate. And in that series, we talked about the utility of the capacities of concentration, the capacities of equanimity and sensory clarity, creating a space for freedom, the observer effect, presence, the ability to be in the zone at will. And in the first part on this series, which is how to meditate, we laid out the landscape, okay? We laid out the landscape. Now, I would like each of these videos to be a standalone, at least on this how to meditate aspect. So let's do a quick preview. But first, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. My name is Ike Ogiamin, and I am your gracious host. Thank you for spending this evening with me. I know time is very precious, very precious, the most valuable, perhaps the only valuable thing that there is out there. Without time, what do you what do you have? Over here we talk about being better and doing better with a strong emphasis on doing. And what are we doing today? Today we are continuing the series on how to meditate with a focus on the internal images. But let's take a quick detour by way of recapping on what we've done so far. As I said, there's a separate series on why you should meditate, and we're leaving that separate. At your leisure, please go, if you have not, look at that particular series. But in the how you should meditate aspect, what we're talking about is the formal use, okay? Formally develop certain capacities by using them. What are these capacities? What are these capacities that we're trying to develop? They are concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity, CSE. And you would expect, just like any other capacity, just like the use of your biceps, if you want to develop your biceps, you use it formally. You have your curls and certain other kinds of exercises that you use. There's a modality, your count, you rest. Maybe you eat certain kinds of proteins and so on and so forth, and it develops. To develop anything, you simply use it. There is no other mystery to it. Again, over here on this channel, we keep things simple, measurable, actionable, and intuitive. You're not going to hear anything here that doesn't make sense, that you cannot very easily understand. So let me get a 1 in the chat, at least for those of you who are new to this. If you understand what I just basically said, which is to develop any capacity is very simple. You simply use it. You don't go make sacrifices on top of some mountain somewhere, or pay some shaman some money, or go to his seminar and buy his books and put on beads. No, if you're trying to develop any capacity, cardiovascular, muscular, intellectual, a skill, even a relationship, it is a use it or lose it proposition, correct? That is fairly straightforward. So, the first 3 parts of the series, we've talked about how we formally use concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity in order to develop these capacities. These capacities give us mastery over subjective consciousness, the ability to master ourselves. That mastery manifests itself in many different ways. We talk about presence. We talk about being in the zone. We talk about not being in a state where the tail is wagging the dog. We want to be in control. What are we taking control over? What are we taking control over? Simple. We have 3 other words that we use here. Feeling, image, and talk. Feeling, image, and talk. Feeling in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. That is what you are, ladies and gentlemen. Your subjective consciousness can be at least broken up into these 3 buckets. Felicia, Shozan, whomever you may be right now, whatever state that you are in right now, is a combination of feelings in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. It never quite manifests itself in any other way. Whether you're happy, sad, elated, joyful, depressed, you have feelings in the body, okay? Maybe it's butterflies in the stomach, or tightness in the stomach, or a slight throbbing in the chest, or some kind of, whatever it is, it's a feeling in the body. We have internal sensations. They may be non-emotional internal sensations, such as certain instincts and intuitions, or maybe just a achy stomach.
But we also have emotional internal sensations, but they are sensations. They're in the body, they can be identified. You can ask how much of what, where, changing at what rate. And then you have images in the head and talk in the head, the realm of thought, the realm of dreams. We practice concentration, we develop sensory clarity, and we practice equanimity, the ability to relax and go with the flow in the realm of feeling, image, and talk. So we can take control of feeling, image, and talk. We're not really taking control, though. We're observing so that it does not control us. We don't over intellectualize here by asking, well, whom is the us that is taking control over the us? Because you are feelings, image, and talk, but you can also observe feelings, image, and talk. But this is not a philosophical exercise. Yes, we have philosophical streams here too, as you know. This is more of a simple, intuitive, practical exercise as to how you can master your subjective consciousness. This one is not going to be too long. We're going to keep this one simple. So, the formal use, and I think that that is very key, very key, very key. It is an exercise. Somebody says, hey, there's this special capacity, something that I can teach you or that you can have. Well, insofar as we are animals, mammals, human beings on this physical plane, you only develop things by using them. And the formal use of capacities is called exercise. The formal use of concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity within the space of your subjective consciousness is called meditation. Meditation is an exercise. That's it. Let me say that again. The formal use of capacities is called an exercise. Formal use of your cardiovascular system, formal use of your biceps, triceps, core. You have these modalities called exercises. Do this, repeat that, move this way, stand this way. Formally do it, and you will develop that capacity. Same thing with all mental kinds of capacities, same thing with all skills. Got to practice that archery and so on and so forth. The same thing here. So don't be deceived when somebody starts telling you about meditation. All it is the formal use of certain capacities. It is not the kinds of capacities that people typically talk about, though. That's why there is room for a lot of bullshit. But it is the formal use of concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity so that you can be in the zone when you want to be. You can just turn it on. And again, go watch the series on why to see all the benefits, because obviously good for your health, blood pressure, stress hormones, but also good to be able to influence people, being a good communicator, just being all around a better, nicer person to be around. Especially when it comes to being around yourself. If you want to be able to tolerate yourself, because that's the one person you cannot get away from. You want to be able to stand the moment, because that's the one thing you can never get away from. Yesterday was the moment. It felt like the moment whereby you had feelings in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. Today, right now, as I'm talking to you, it is the moment. Tomorrow, that you think is going to be different, when it comes around, what's tomorrow going to be? It's going to be the moment. Being able to master and become comfortable with the moment is as important as you could. It cannot be overemphasized. If you understood the previous sentences that I just said, which is the past, the present, the future, is the moment. The moment is with yourself. Yourself is that feeling, image, and talk all the time. You cannot overemphasize the need to get a hold of that thing. I don't care what else you're doing externally. And over here, we teach and we talk about and we emphasize doing things externally. Oh, yes, you better achieve something. You better go out there and get that bag. You better close those deals. You better write that book. You better write those songs. You better not be lazy, of course, but definitely you better get a grip of yourself because otherwise it's all for naught. So, indeed. Oh, we got a super chat already. Speaking of the bag, ladies and gentlemen, we got a super chat already, and thank you very much. It's okay to be happy. Says, I love this topic. Wish I could stay for the entire stream tonight. Thanks for this, Ike. Oh, well, of course, it will remain up like my other streams, and you can go ahead and catch the replay. Okay, so the formal use of certain capacities, which are concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity, okay? Concentration, sensory clarity, equanimity, formally used within the realm of feeling, image, and talk so that we can master our subjective consciousness. The very first part, we developed the options because somebody comes to you and says, hey, there's this capacity called cardiovascular capacity, okay? Cardiovascular strength. And you could say, hey, what are the different ways? What are different modalities? They could then tell you, you could run, you could swim, you could row, you could play basketball, you could play tennis, you could play volleyball. Many modalities, many different ways, but still you're working the heart with the blood vessels and the lungs. Same thing here. We laid out the landscape. We said you can go by using the body, using things like breathing to access internal non-emotional sensations. You can use image in the head and talk in the head. As long as you're working concentration, relaxation, which is equanimity, a certain kind of relaxation, the ability to flow and float, the ability to stand back at a certain remove and watch your feelings rather than be in your feelings and watch images and talk in your head rather than be them. That this is the lay of the land. Part 2, we used breathing. Part 3, we used the ear, right? The sound. Use the ringing in your ear, or try to hear the furthest sound you can hear, or try to hear the closest sound you can hear, or use a gong or something that kind of helps you with the timing and the formality. Right? And today we are within the realm of mental images. Okay? Remember, feeling, image, talk, fit. Feeling, image, talk. Dr. Thunder in the house says, it's my anniversary today, so I need to split. Here's a reminder to promote our show. Thank you very much. I'll promote it right now in case I forget later, but I definitely will try. I will endeavor to promote it. We are doing a show. We have a monthly show. It's called Getting Ish Done. Getting Ish Done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. Okay? Dr. Thunder, for those of you who don't know him, is a professor at the Ohio State University. That's the Ohio State University. Okay? He's a tenured professor. He knows how to get ish done. And I am who I am. I'm your crazy artist, philosopher, engineer, entrepreneur, crazy man, super chat Jesus over here. Apparently, I know how to get some things done too. And we're going to talk about in the first episode how we get over sloth, because the 7 deadly sins are common to all. We all have to deal with it. How do we get over sloth? How does it manifest itself? Okay, so make sure you guys tune in, and that will be on Friday, okay? The 28th is Thursday. That'll be on Thursday. And on Thursday, we'll be starting at 6:30 p.m. as opposed to about 6 when I usually start. Okay, 5:45, 5:50. We'll be starting at 6:30, and that'll be a monthly show, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to Dr. Thunder in the house. Shout out to Black Man of Steel in the house. Shout out to, Was that Mikios? Indeed, indeed, indeed. We laid out the land vis-a-vis the options, and today we are in the realm of mental image. Next time we'll talk about mental talk. Okay, remember we have feeling, image, and talk. And it is my contention that that is all you are. Your subjective consciousness always manifests itself that way. That's a very important thing to know to begin to get a handle on yourself. Whatever state you are in manifests itself in those three. And guess what? You can watch those three. How do you get better at watching those three so that you're not perturbed, so that you can remain independent, have space for freedom, and you can be in the zone? You practice. And we're going to talk about a particular practice that has to do with the use of internal talk. So let's get right into it. As I said, this one is not going to be a very long one. Okay? Not going to be a very long one. Shout out to Felicia in the house. Always nice to see you. What do you say? What are you talking about, Felicia, over there? Research in the Vatican says men falls mostly lust, sloth, glutton, and wrath. Women falls for pride, envy, and greed. Yep, those are the social type of things. I guess you didn't need a study. You didn't really need a study to figure out that women are going to be doing their hypergamy and pridefulness. Oh, you can't tell those women nothing. But hey, we are all sinful, right? But it is very important to know the particular sins in accordance with your nature, the particular sins that you're most susceptible to. Men have theirs. You go to death row, violent crimes, okay? It's all men over there, right? That's not something women really have to worry about per se. They do more social damage. Social, psychological, emotional, verbal damage. And those kinds of things like envy and so on and so forth. That's a very interesting point you bring up. That's a very interesting point you bring up. Fresh123 says, hi, saw you from Jessica's live this morning. Well, welcome. Make sure you like, subscribe, bell button, and all. So, like, subscribe, bell button, all. LSB8, that is the algorithm, ladies and gentlemen. So, let's get right into this, okay? We have given a nice preamble to what this topic is, okay? Again, the formal use of capacities in order to develop these capacities. Use it or lose it. That's kind of how the whole system works. There are certain capacities that we can develop within our space of subjective consciousness. These capacities are concentration, equanimity, and sensory clarity. The formal use of these in order to develop them is called meditation. And we've been taken in this series one by one, looking about formal ways of doing this so you can develop this, so that you can master your subjective consciousness. It is that simple, ladies and gentlemen. It is that simple. So let me go ahead and share this so we can kind of go over it in a systematic way. Okay? And remember, concentration, sensory clarity, equanimity, and then remember feeling, image, and talk. Okay? We're developing concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity, and we're using it within the realm of feeling, image, and talk. Feeling, image, and talk is the entirety of your subjective consciousness. Okay? So fresh 1, 2, 3, everything you are, everything you ever will be in terms of experience is going to be in your body as a feeling, and there'll be images and talk in your head that go along with it. Okay? Being able to disaggregate, disambiguate, and put it into these three parameters is the beginning of being able to get a grip of yourself. And you need to get a grip of yourself. Otherwise, I will dare say that your entire life was more or less a waste. Yes, 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 yes. If you can't figure out the internal, everything you do external, as you very well know, and I don't need to tell you this, is kind of worthless. If you can't figure out, if you cannot stand yourself at the end of the day, then what was the point, right? What was the point, ladies and gentlemen? So let's go ahead and talk about certain aspects of using internal images. Internal images, okay? This is the realm of dreams, the realm of thought. But we're not talking about the words, okay? Because there's voices in your head too. Voices in your head. Songs playing in your head. Mantras playing in your head. You getting pissed off, repeating things that somebody told you in the office playing in your head. Okay? We're not talking about that. We're talking about just the images in your head and how we practice on that. Use that as a medium. Use that as a weight for the training of our concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. And remember, formality is key. Structure is key. Just like any other kind of exercise. You don't just go to the gym and just kind of free, kind of roam around. You don't go to the basketball court and just do whatever you want. No, there's a structure to the game, and that's why it's a formal exercise, and that's why it reliably develops these capacities. So, again, it's not about throwing on beads and that, and doing some silly stuff and being free. That is neither an exercise, nor is it art, nor is it anything. It's just being a useless hippie. Formality and structure, that struggle is necessary in any kind of training. Okay? So, I will encourage you to go back and listen to the one on breathing, which was, I believe, part 2. Yes, part 2. Part 2. Breathing is the most accessible one for all of us. Let me get a 1 in the chat if you understand this, okay? Breathing, using that as an access to feeling your feelings so that your feelings don't get a hold of you. Being able to develop that barrier between yourself and your feelings. Okay, let me get a 1 in the chat if you understand why that is one of the most accessible one for all of us. Take a deep breath. We all know that one, even if we never meditated before. So I use breathing as a formality for doing mental exercises. In other words, whenever I'm doing mental image stuff, I'm using the breathing as a way of grounding myself, as a way of relaxing myself, which aids concentration. One of the things that you learn when you start meditating is that concentration and relaxation are 2 sides of the same coin. If I say, hey, concentrate, you're going to be like, okay, loosen up. Okay, relax. Okay, concentrate, right? And the more you concentrate, the more relaxed you get, right? And the more relaxed you get, the more you can concentrate. Using the breathing exercises because of its accessibility as a way of kind of undergirding this mental thing, right? So I'm there doing my breathing exercises. Take, for example, the inhale, hold, exhale one, the simple in 1, 2, 3, hold 1, 2, 3, out 1, 2, 3, right? That patterned breathing whereby you then relax, which each out breath you let your body collapse, you feel the body and so on and so forth. And as you feel the body, you feel that relaxation. That relaxation aids in the concentration of how you're going to be paying attention to your internal images, okay? The internal images is what we're going to get to, but we're trying to get there step by step. And I'm trying to talk about the formality here, the modality here. And I'm saying that the breathing is a good way to undergird this particular exercise. Ladies and gentlemen. Shout out, shout out, shout out. I believe that's the infamous Snuggles, the infamous Snuggles. Says, I enjoy the look. The suit is looking very impressive. I took the beard off. That's what's new today, by the way, if you haven't noticed. You got to have some variety. You got to be able to, because you guys have seen me from full beard to half beard to now. Woo. So, The Windy City native, he's got jokes. Excellent. So the concentration is emphasized by the counting, for example. You're using that as a base. The equanimity, okay, and then we're just talking about the breathing exercises, okay? Because we're going to use the breath as a way of undergirding this stuff. So the point is, when you're sitting there and you're going to do this mental image exercise, you're going to use the breathing as a way of working it. So go back and watch the breathing one, which is part 2 on this series, okay? Obviously, oh, by the way, the C, the E, and the S is concentration, equanimity, and sensory clarity. So I'm saying that the concentration is emphasized by the counting and this kind of counting breathing. Equanimity or relaxation is on basically is emphasized by that feeling of tension and release. So you take a deep breath in and you feel like this barrel, right? And then you that relaxation then aids the concentration, okay? It aids the concentration. And the sensory clarity, which is key. The sensory clarity is the ability to discern more subtly the senses that you're feeling. You need to be able to discern more subtly the senses that you're feeling. You need to be able to know, rather than say things like, oh, I'm just sad, or I just feel like I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or rather than be blindsided by the weather pattern that's going on in you, which is the feelings in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. You need to be able to wake up in the morning and go, there's a slight feeling of numbness around my torso today. That tends to correspond with a certain amount of unconsciousness. Let me pay attention today. There is a ringing in my ear, a louder noise in my ear than usual today. There is a song that keeps on playing in my ear today. That usually also is a state where you're less apt to concentrate. You're going to be a little bit more absent-minded, more liable to do something stupid. In other words, sensory clarity will be able to tell you, the left side of my chest feels this way rather than I'm sad. You can still say you're sad, but the point is you need to have internal language and you need to go from this kind of weird, blurry, low resolution picture to a microscope. You need to be able to break down sad to granular, how much of where, changing at what rate. What's going on in the body internally? How does it affect the external sensations? What's going on in my image and what's going on in my talk world, in my head? If you cannot do that, then you're open to be blindsided by this, what I call the weather patterns, right? Because this weather pattern, which is you feeling, image, and talk, will continue to happen regardless. But you need to learn how to have a nice barometer to take the pressure in there, have a nice thermometer to take the temperature at different spots. In other words, you have a dashboard where you clearly see, like, hey, I see what's likely to happen today. I'm not going to be blindsided. Okay? So the formality is key. We're using the breathing. Okay? So as I just said, how much of what, where, changing at what rate is generally what we're trying to do. Okay? When I say concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity, it takes concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity, and pardon, it's supposed to be C, E, and S, not C, E, and E, in order to notice the above. In order to notice the above. What about hearing people singing in my ears, but no one is singing in my ears? There's always voices in your ears. We're always dreaming, even while you're awake. Because you could always just stop, shut down, close your eyes, and go in there and notice the dream. But there are certain kinds of loud dreams and certain kinds of not so loud dreams. They are all correlated with certain kinds of states. You don't know, or I cannot tell you, okay, what goes with what. you have to go and figure out those categories for yourself. You know what I mean? You have to go figure out how much salt you like on your food and how much sweetness and so on and so forth. It's you that needs to go ahead and create subtle sensory clarity. We have subtle sensory clarity on your food, right? You like I like when the rice smells just this way, and when it just has this much salt, this much kind of dryness in terms of texture. This is what I'm encouraging you to do internally. Then you will know all the different combinations of feeling in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. And then when you wake up, when you feel it, you're going to be like, oh, this is usually this type of a state, this type of a day, this type of I am prone or have certain propensities to do certain kinds of things in this kind of a state. This thing usually goes with this. This loud ringing in the ear usually goes with this kind of a state of mind. Because most of the time, without doing this, left to our own devices, we're just on this weird autopilot. It's not even autopilot, it's just kind of this state of self-destructive unconsciousness. So, let's talk about the exercises. Okay? As I said, you're going to sit down and you're going to be breathing. You're going to lay down, you're going to be breathing. Or you're going to be driving. Or whatever it is you're going to be doing, but you're going to be breathing. Okay? It doesn't have to be that way, but generally speaking, this helps as a way of keeping you grounded. Okay? So go learn all the breathing exercises. The mental images, by the way, is more of an advanced game. Mental image meditation is more of an advanced game. The body is always the easiest place to start. The body, vis-a-vis breathing, using the breathing as a conduit, is always or usually the easiest place to start. Okay? So once you got your breathing exercises going, you kind of know how to feel your body through that, practice concentration through that, do the different breathing exercises, whether it be the effortless exhale or effortless inhalation that we discussed earlier. And by earlier, I mean in part 2 of the series. When you have gotten some hang of the game, okay, then you can better get into the game of mental images. But still, you can listen to this and understand it, right? I'm just saying it's harder. It's like telling you, hey, maybe you want to lift the 20-pound dumbbells before you go to the 50-pound dumbbells. But still, we can talk about it, right? Still, we can talk about it. So one simple one is this. Try to find the image. Let me get a 1 in the chat if we all know what closed eye hallucinations are. When you close your eyes, what happens right now? There are patterns and flashes, right? Let me get a 1 in the chat. Okay? Patterns, flashes. Some people see, for me, it's purple. Generally a purple, dark purple. Some people see red. Some people see orange, right? But there are these kinds of things that are going on in there, right? It's pattern. It's usually rhythmic, right? It's got a pattern to it. It's not just pure chaos. But those are not thoughts, okay? The point is, what are we looking for? We're not looking for that. That is just more of a physical thing. Part of your eye doing what the eye does. Okay, so you want to get past that, okay? Because everybody knows that's not the realm of dreams. That's not the realm of the images that you see. That's not the realm, okay? It's separate from that. So this very simple exercise, okay, simply means find the image, okay? It's what I said, like you're always dreaming, but you just got to go in there and find it. This is a very simple one, okay? Well, why are you doing it? Why are you doing? Well, you're formally practicing concentration within the space of your subjective consciousness, because with this concentration within the space of your subjective consciousness, you're now able to observe yourself. And when you can observe yourself, you can be a master rather than be a slave to yourself. It's not that complicated. It is very, very simple, not easy to do. You got to still practice it. You still got to do it, right? Just like talking about curls and dumbbells and bench presses, it's not complicated, but you still got to do it. And I made a whole 4-part series on why you should do it. Because, dare I say, it's probably the most important thing in your life. So, you stop, and you may not even have to close your eyes because the visions may be clear enough for you not to even close your eyes. But when you close your eyes, you got to separate these closed eye hallucination, these typical patterns that you see, these different colors and flashes and so on and so forth, and find the image. Is it an image of people? Find that thought, an image going in there. This is a practical, formal exercise that gets you to work the muscle of concentration and also sensory clarity, because you're going to need to separate. You got to find it. And in order to find it, you need to practice subtlety. That subtle finding. You need to make your instrument fine-grained to search for the images that constitute your thought patterns in any particular moment. Salute to Neil Stewart. Thank you very much. $20. Says, before Ike became famous, I was able to get some of this knowledge from him directly. Thanks, Ike. I'm still putting in the work. Yes, now it's a free-for-all. Now everybody's going to get the game. Right? I'm coming out of my cave, dropping jewels from the sky. Shout out to Dr. Mad. I see you in the house. Thanks for joining us today, Dr. Mad. So, you don't see mental images in your foot. That's why people say, oh, I see things in my head, or I hear things in my head or whatever. Like, well, I hear voices in my head. Yes, that's generally where the voices are. And again, this is not a class on metaphysics. So we're not going to get deep into what exactly that is and how can I really say that mental images are in your head. And we're not going to get into psychology, biology, metaphysics, and all kinds of interesting conversations that could be had over some fine cognac about this. But point being, practically speaking, if you're looking for the images, you got to look around here. Can I get a 1 in the chat? The mental images are right in that screen of behind your closed eyes after you remove your concentration from the closed eye hallucinations, which are those flashes of color and those patterns that we see. Everybody sees different kinds of colors or different patterns, but that's something that happens. The mental images can also be found there. The mental images need to be found because they're not always very clear, but they're always affecting you, though. This part is very key. The mental images need to be found. It's almost like there's a knife in your back, but you don't even know it's there. Just because you ignore it doesn't mean you're not bleeding to death. Those mental images are there. If you do not clearly see it, then you are blind, you're unconscious. The more unconscious you are, the less control you tend to have, to the degree to which we're loosely defining control here. Okay? We're keeping things simple and we're using colloquial language. Again, we're not discussing metaphysics. We're just talking about the formal use of concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity so that you can develop these things. You're developing them so that you can train them upon your subjective consciousness, the feeling in your body, the image in your head, and the talk in your head. And right now we're using images as a way of practicing concentration. Last time we used the ear, which is an external sensation, right? External perception, if you will, as a way of practicing concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. Prior to that, we used the breathing as a way of accessing non-emotional internal sensations. Okay? Those thoughts are there. The images are there, even though you don't know they're there. But just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't have its effect. Now, mental images are more subtle than some feeling in your body, right? Because, let me see here. I think we got another super chat. I think that looks like the symbol for Red Sings the Blues. And you guys should check out his channel. For the fun, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the $2 super chat. Red Sings the Blues. He's a great podcaster out there. So, ladies and gentlemen, these images are there. You guys know that when you wake up with a back pain, right? You're all of a sudden gonna have bad thoughts about, okay, let me just keep it simple. Let's keep it at a simple level. If you wake up with a back pain, are you gonna be more irritable? Yes or no? Right? Let me get a yes or a no if you think that your back pain will affect your behavior. Okay? You wake up, your spine is a little twisted, you sat in a plane flight for the past 16 hours, it wasn't comfortable, you were sitting in coach, you wake up with this back pain, it's going to affect your behavior. But it also affects your thoughts. You have back pain and all of a sudden you start thinking about the person that offended you yesterday or that person you don't really like at work. It has nothing to do with the person. It's just that feeling, image, and talk all work together. It starts with a feeling in your back. It starts generating images in your head. And also it generates more feelings in your body. For example, you start, right? You start clenching your jaw. You guys, we all know this story, right? You woke up with a back pain. Now you're thinking bad thoughts about somebody. Now you're clenching your jaw. And the jaw is making you think more bad thoughts. And you're just going down this crazy snowball of madness and unconsciousness. The point is, you want to be able to stand back and say, hey, okay, that's back pain. If I can point to back pain, then back pain does not necessarily have to control me. There is a me that can watch the back pain. Therefore, I have some agency here. The more unconscious I am, okay, and I use the back pain example because it's more visceral, but there are images in your head right now that are doing the same thing that the back pain does for you. Get the point? There are images in your head right now that are equivalent to back pain. And if you don't know they're there, you're going to go cussing out your coworkers, not realizing that it has nothing to do with them. I hope I'm being clear. And Felicia just had some back pain. Salute, 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 salute. Okay? So, there's something called the homunculus, but as far as what we're concerned with here in terms of mental images, point is this. Let me tell you guys something. If you're driving, you don't have to do this, okay? Leave your eyes open. But ladies and gentlemen, let me crave your indulgence here to participate in a slight experiment. Not a very long one, a very simple one. We are, after all, listening to about mental images here. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Release it, and then close your eyes. And then I want you to feel your toes. Like, what I mean by that is, focus your attention on how your toes feel right now. you might be subtle enough to notice that an image of your toe or images of your toes or whatever is part of this. Whenever you try to pay attention to any part of your body, there's a mental image of that part of your body is always a part of the gig. Can I get a 1 in the chat if maybe you guys already know this, you guys already experienced this, or just right now you did it with your toes or with your fingers or something? I say breathe and relax because relaxation aids concentration, not because we're woo-woo peddling idiots, but because we understand how the system works. And then you concentrate on a part of your body, like how does my thigh feel? How does the left shoulder feel? It comes along with an image in your head of your left shoulder. There is a mental map of your body that you always carry around with you. This is key. This is key. Okay. I'm a frontman, singer, dancer type, okay? And when I get on stage and I start doing my thing, and when I'm really getting in the zone, okay, what takes over is that mental image. So I start watching the mental image of my different parts of my body do the things before I do them, okay? So it's almost like an out-of-body experience, okay, where I'm just watching the internal representation of my body doing things. Usually before it does it, I'm kind of like saying, okay, it's going to do this, and it's going to do that, and I'm going to spin, and it's going to and you're really in the zone, and you're going, it's good stuff. It's almost like also anybody that does like freestyling, freestyle rap or whatever. When you're in the zone and you're dropping those hot 16s, you're just watching yourself drop those hot 16s. So it's like, okay, I see the words are just coming out. You're not even participating. You're the observer. Little side note there to build relevance. So, another thing we're talking about the mental images, right? We're talking about the mental images, and we're trying to say, okay, well, here's some examples of these mental images because this is the first exercise. This first exercise is very simple. The first exercise just says find the mental image or mental images. So you sit there, you close your eyes, you're breathing, which is the formality that I said to use. That way it keeps you grounded, it keeps you anchored, it keeps a formality to the thing, and you're looking for the image, okay? It is not the closed eye hallucination pattern stuff. No, you're looking for the thoughts, okay? And these mental images can be detected around this area, okay? There is this body part type imagery, okay? Random images and associations, similar to kind of like dreams, right? Okay? We all know that almost dreaming state, right? You're thinking about something. You're thinking about the dinner you had a couple of hours ago. You're sitting in bed and you're having images about the dinner. And then it just starts going somewhere else. You start falling asleep, and now all of a sudden, the spoon, because you're thinking about spoon becomes doom, becomes a hellish landscape, and the associations happen from image to word to image, picture to this. Like it's just kind of all over the place. That's kind of what I call like the dream, the typical kind of thought type realm, right? Random associations. You can find those in there too. And you can train your concentration by focusing on those. Again, the formal use of this capacity so that we develop the capacities. Why do we want to develop the capacities? Because if you do not master your subjective consciousness, then what the hell did you spend your 100 years, if you're lucky, what did you spend your 100 years doing here? I don't think it was worth it at all. If you cannot stand yourself, if you do not even know the internal workings of the machinery, if you're every day just being moved around by the weather patterns of feeling, image, and talk, then what the hell was the whole point? Or maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks that way. But I think it is so self-evident that I don't think it's arguable, right? So this is the first exercise, and it is simple as you would expect. Let me see if I can do this here really quick. ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Oh, did I miss another? No, I didn't miss another super chat. I got Red Sings the Blues. You dropped that one. Bada pop. See one's in the chat over there. Shout out to Nicer. Shout out to Nicer. Robots are bad. RP content to building yourself content. Ah. Exactly, Daryl. Exactly. It was entirely pointless if you can't figure this part out. And it's fine. It's time to do it. There is time, and it is time to do it. And I think one of the main reasons I do this is because within the Western context, a lot of people don't have the right conceptualizations because they talk to you in ancient Sanskrit about chakras and stuff like that, but that's a different kind of thinking, a different language, first of all. It's a different language, and they think about it differently. But if I tell you concentration, and if I tell you relaxation, and if I tell you sensory clarity, and I tell you that you're using these capacities formally so you develop them, like the way you and I usually talk every day, then, it makes sense. The problem is, most of the time, people get dragged into the woo, 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 woo land and get sold all kinds of pamphlets, books, seminars, beads, necklaces, and candles, crystals. I'm just getting angry as I say this stuff. Okay? That's why people are so lost. Because of those motherfuckers out there fucking you up. I hate those motherfuckers. Noticing the level of vividness is something that speaks to the aspect of sensory clarity, being able to discern the differences, being able to discern the subtle differences between these mental images, because not all mental images are created equal. Some days, the images are not so clear. Some days it's crisp, clear. Some days you don't even have to close your eyes to know that there's an image of some ancient Mesopotamian god in your head or something. Right? So, being able to notice, okay, is the image clear? Is the image not clear? Is it in full technicolor? Okay? Is it black and white? What colors? Is it distinct? Is it blurry? What's going on image-wise in your head right now? While you sit there, you breathe, you're relaxing, you're intentional, you are the one doing the watching, and you are finding the image. That's just one modality. That's one practice, okay? Now we're going into another practice, which is about discernment, okay? And all these will go together as you practice this stuff. And you will also notice that there are many layers, arguably starting from very conscious, less conscious, all the way down to unconscious. Does that make sense when I say there are many layers? Let me get a one in the chat. So, the one thing that you're seeing, that maybe you find one image and it's the image of, maybe a school bus going around the park or something, just some random image. There are usually other images below that. And if you look closer, you can see another image below that. And there are images even below those. Typically, when we're going to sleep is when we can notice that this very surface level image has many things going on under there, and then there are associations going on. Remember the point that these images, okay, can be as impactful as back pain. Just because you don't know that you have some kind of subtle perturbation in the body, which is the state of most people in the world right now is unconsciousness. Okay, that's just a given. It's not woo woo talk. It's not, oh, this guy's over here sounding like some kind of guru. No, it just is. If you're honest with yourself, like I'm being honest with myself, left to my devices, I'm completely unconscious. I have no idea what the hell's going on. So most people don't even know that they have feelings in their body that is causing them to do certain things. Same way, you don't know that you have images in your head that is putting you in a certain mood, putting you in a certain state, and will cause you to do certain things. Not to mention raise your heart rate, not to mention raise your cortisol, and so on and so on. Right? Simple. Notice the change. Remember, I said how much of what, where, and changing at what rate. Okay? Some simple calculus, right? What's the position? What's the velocity? What's the acceleration? How much of what, where, and we add mass to it too to find the force. How much of what, where, changing at what rate? Okay? So before we just noticed the thought. We try to find the thought. We're using, again, breathing as the undergirding formality, undergirding modality. And using breathing also, because the relaxation that comes with breathing aids concentration, and we need the concentration. You need to go in there to find those thoughts, which is the first exercise. And then you can also then notice the level of vividness, okay, from day to day, how it varies. Because any given arrangement of feeling in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head represents your state. And being able to know your different states is very much by, the definition of know thyself, right? And yourself is not in a book, okay? People get all weird with that know thyself thing as though, oh, it means go study philosophy. No, philosophy is for something else, I would argue. This is the real know thyself. Knowing, feeling, image, and talk, and all the different manifestations, combinations, and so on and so forth that represents your state from day to day to day and how it changes, that is the real know thyself. And that is the skill without which life is just not worth living. The unexamined life is not worth living. I'm saying that this is the examined life. Not looking backwards at your story, not looking at Storyville, not looking at Identityville. My name, my mother, my tribe, my achievements. Oh yes, that's one layer of you, in the whole amalgamation of things. But I say that this is the most fundamental. Before you go up to Storyville, you need to understand via concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity, what exactly goes on in your weather pattern, feeling, image, and talk, right? So how does it change? Some days the image is static. There's just this singular, static, clear, crisp, colorful picture of something in your head all day, or maybe for that time being that you're watching it. A garden, a rose, a fire, hell, the devil, Satan, whatever, your ex, your mom. It's clear. It's relatively static. Other days it's more shifty, right? Is there a narrative structure, or is it just random? Is it these random associations that I said, or is it an image of somebody with a bucket going to a well to get water, right? Is there a narrative structure to the change? Assuming that there is a change, right? Again, how much of what, where, changing at what rate? Whether it be feelings in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head, remember that is our goal here. To be able to be master observers of that. That is the definition of being in the zone, ladies and gentlemen. What is the acceleration of the change? Is it fast? Is it slow? We notice these things because all these things are connected. In other words, you're going to start noticing patterns. You're going to be able to now develop categories of combinations of feeling, image, and talk. You're going to know when I have a static image in my head, there's usually a certain kind of thing that I tend to do or a way that I tend to be. It means something. And you cannot begin to catalog and categorize this unless you actually go in there and look. The same thing with the subtle feelings in your body. If you go back to our breathing, which was part 2, using breathing as a way of accessing non-emotional internal sensations. So noticing the change is key, mainly for that sensory clarity aspect of this game. Again, concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. The sensory clarity aspect of the game, being able to notice, is it vivid? How does it change? So on and so forth. And remember, this is the most important thing to be studied. So if you think it's crazy, okay, if you think it's crazy that someone is out there saying, well, do this and do that, there's nothing else worth doing, dude. If you don't do that first. And if you can't even do that, then you need to see a therapist about your problems. I do things for effect, right? No smoke, no judgment to anybody, but the effect, the point needs to be driven home. The point needs to be driven home. And I'm speaking very simple sentences. So you know the truth of what I'm saying. If you cannot do, or if you don't think this is worth doing, then nothing is worth doing. Then you have a very, very which is no shade, right? The first story in the Bible after the creation story is the story of Cain and Abel, whereby Cain thinks life sucks. So the thinking life sucks, life is not worth living, I'm going to rebel against God. That's very, very normal. By normal, I mean widespread, ubiquitous. That's a thing. Most people are in that state of mind where they don't think life is really worth living. Right? Just too cowardly to commit suicide. So if you're in a situation where you're like, this is not worth doing, you're in that state. And as I said, it is very widespread. That's why we relate with Cain and him being angry at existence. Because existence kind of sucks because, right before Cain and Abel, God kicked him out of the Garden of Eden and says, hey, you know what? It's going to suck, right? The whole story of Genesis was, hey, you know what? It was good before, but now it's going to suck. So the fact that you're thinking it sucks, it's just kind of normal. But it shouldn't be that way. You should flip that around and you should then find it worthwhile. And if it is worthwhile, then this is the thing that is most worthwhile to do. The mastery of your subjective consciousness. Sup, Dr. Mad? You crystallized this exact concept a couple of days ago. Are you my shadow or something? Yeah, speaking of ghosts. Speaking of ghosts. Show's on! Small birth defects in my neck. Tightness in the rest of your neck. Yes. And recall, feelings in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. Feelings in the body includes internal sensations, which are emotional or non-emotional. And then we also have senses. The reason why yoga is a meditation technique, a technique of practicing concentration, sensory clarity, equanimity, a technique of mastering yourself is because body work is a huge part of this, right? Body work is huge. And this is why athletes, okay, that's why athletes tend to be able to do that zone thing. Why? Because in order to do what they do, they need to train concentration, sensory clarity, and equity. Even a sniper knows about the zone thing because he needs to formally train concentration, sensory clarity, his breathing and his relaxation, and so on and so forth. There are many roads to get here. But as I said, the main thing is that in the West, we don't have clear conceptualizations of it. It's not what we focused on. We focus more on gunpowder and chopping heads off, right? So we're now prone to very unclear language by people who mostly don't understand what the hell they're talking about, but they just kind of know that these kind of vague practices tend to work. So let me now sell you scented candles and a seminar and a book and just be generally annoying. But no, it doesn't have to be that way. I have not said anything complicated so far. Let me get a 1 in the chat if you believe what I just said, which is, have I said anything complicated so far? I have not said anything complicated so far. You can get a 1 if you agree. It's not complicated. The formal use of capacities. Oh, capacities, I get that. Concentration, oh, I get that. Equanimity, what is that? Oh, it's a form of relaxation. That thing, you know, it's like floating. Oh, well, I get that. Sensory clarity, being able to clearly discern the different aspects. Oh, okay, I get that. Nothing strange. Not strange and not complicated. Very basic, very simple. For us modern materialists, we don't live in ancient India. Don't use the same language or concepts. People who talk that way don't understand what the hell they're talking about. They just know that these techniques kind of work, and then they can tell you some things that are ancillary around it, and they can sell you books. End result instead of the process. So, 3 simple techniques we talked about so far. I said, first of all, identify the image, okay? And remember, we use our breathing as a way of undergirding, a way of a modality for this particular practice, because I said that formality is key. Formality is key. You don't go to the gym to just do whatever. You don't play basketball in just whatever, right? There is formality to exercises. The formal use of capacities in order to develop them requires formal use, right? That's the whole point. So the ringing of the gong, it's a formality. You listen to it with your ears, you practice your concentration. The gong is not magic, okay? It's not the vibrations of the unit you're sending out into the universe. This thing is made with this special oak and the brass. You know that this, it's a 57 whatever hertz, and that's the very frequency of the vibration of your red blood cell, man. Nah, fuck you. That's not what it's about. Fuck you. Pardon the language, but we have fun over here. So, we're going to talk about mental exercises now, okay? I talked about some simple ones, but I'm going to give you some more structured ones, okay? They're structured. And as I said, mental image is more of advanced level game. It's more of after you've figured out how to, first of all, relax, sit in one place and just breathe, okay? Breathe, and how to keep your neck loose and your shoulders loose, how to breathe from the diaphragm, how to have your spine straight and have a core, right? How to work with the body is what I'm basically saying, because the body is more accessible, right? Okay. Mind terrorist. Yeah, but I know you guys know what I mean, and I know you guys are equally pissed off at those people. Everyone's pissed off at those people. Nobody. Well, let me not go to. Okay, look, I'm an artist, right? It's one of the things that I do, right? One of the things that I do. So I hang around the type a lot. A lot of my buddies are that way, you know. But I'm not gonna go out there propagating bullshit, and I'm not a subtle person. I don't believe in subtlety, and it's just no bullshit is bullshit. Bullshit is bullshit is bullshit, right? And when I can recognize it, I'm gonna say it quite clearly. It's up to whomever to take it or not take it. So, what are these simple exercises that one can do? Because there are simple formalities, simple formal exercises that you can do, okay? And as I said, this is going to be a short one, okay? Because especially as we go further in this series, there's not going to be the need to repeat certain things, right? We know concentration, sensory clarity, equanimity, and we know feeling, image, and talk. We know how we combine these things to be mastery of subjective consciousness. We know that this is pretty much presence and being in the zone and blah, 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 and that it is what it is, and it is what makes life worth living because we live life from the inside out. Okay? So now I'm going to talk about something formal internally. The other thing so far has just been finding stuff, right? We found the images. We asked, how vivid are they? We asked, how is it changing? How much of what we're changing at what rate? But I will ask you right one more time, please, to participate in a little exercise, okay? Because this one is a nice formal one, okay? Look, this one, now I'm letting you on some this is the most practical, and you're talking about blowing your mind. This will literally blow your mind because it is one of the most, it is like bench press for your mind. It is hard to practice certain things precisely in an abstract way. It's hard to abstract out certain particulars of mental capacity without, for example, doing mathematics. I'm working on my brain by playing chess. I'm working on my brain by doing math equations. I'm working on my cognition by reading books, that kind of a thing. It is hard to just go and just work directly on your cognition, on your ability to abstract things. But I'm about to show you how right now, okay? It's very simple. Just like everything else I've been saying here, it's been very simple. I'm not going to tell you to become one with the universe, man, or some nonsense like that. No, it's very simple. So basically, basically, I'm going to call it holding static images and holding dynamic images, but let me go ahead and elicit your participation. Please, I crave your indulgence. Can we close our eyes? Okay? Dr. Mad, Felicia, Shozan in the house, Q Dog. Can we close our eyes? And here's what I want us to do. Okay? The first thing is called holding static imagery. Okay? This is direct mental exercise, not mental exercise via some kind of game or via some kind of discipline in terms of mathematics, whatever. Close your eyes and present to yourself via your imagination a blank sheet of paper. Okay? Have we done that? You close your eyes and you present to yourself a blank sheet of paper. Okay? This is an example of the exercise. There are many ways to do this. Okay? Now I want you to start writing the alphabet. Start with A. Okay? Top left, as we typically do over in the West. Write A and then hold A and then allow B to appear. Boom. Do you have A and B now? Good. Hold A and B and allow C to appear. Boom. Great. Hold A, B, and C. Allow D to appear. Boom. Hold A, B. You see the point? How far can you go? Can you see how easy this is? You could simply test yourself and be like, you know what? Can I do the entire alphabet? Let me get a 1 in the chat if you guys just got that intuitively. Like, oh, I get it. I get the point. I see how this is training me. I see the particular capacity that I'm formerly using in order to develop that capacity. Huh? Simple. Get a 1 in the chat if it is clearly understood this idea of holding static imagery in your head. And I just use the alphabet as a very simple example, right? You can do this anytime, right? And trust me, it works. You will get better at abstracting, conceptualizing, spinning little images in your head. For the mathematicians out there, visualizing all the XYZ plane and all the vectors, this surface over here, and all the matrices associated with them, and blah, 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 like all that kind of stuff. You can train that in a very discrete, abstract, very precise way where you don't have to worry about, oh, do I have to play this game in order to develop this? No, you simply go into your head and you just practice this thing that I just said. You close your eyes. The alphabet is a simple one. And I'll get into the dynamic image and then we can close this out. Okay? As I said, I don't want this to be too big, heavy. Okay? Because I know that you do have to do body work before you develop enough ability to just sit still. Because the body is the first barrier. Unless you're some kind of weirdo. There are some talented people out there. Just like in basketball, just like with golf or anything, you also have talent when it comes to subjective consciousness. It is true. For example, I believe Buddha was just very, very, very talented, right? Some of us are more talented than others with this stuff, is what I'm saying. But I think that generally speaking, the mass of us need to start with the body. The body is the first barrier, breathing, so on and so forth. Get that so you can be concentrated enough to sit there, have enough equanimity enough to just sit there. Okay, good. But this practice is very simple. Blank sheet of paper. Keep it clean and start labeling. Notice what I said about holding. And I think this is key because it's something you may figure out yourself, but I taught it to you in a certain way. In other words, I didn't say write A and then write B. Let me say it again. I didn't say write down A and then write B. I said write A, hold A, and allow B to appear. Hold A and B and then allow C to appear. The holding is the technique. In other words, if I didn't tell you that, you'll struggle and then you figure out, oh, this is how I have to do it. Right? Because if you write A and then just write B, you're going to lose the A. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let me get a one in the chat if you understand what I just said, okay? If you try to write the A in your mind and then write the B and then write the C, now the A is already gone. It's write A, hold A, allow B to appear. Hold A and B, allow C to appear. Hold A, B, and C, allow D to appear. Hold A, B, C, and D, allow E to appear. That's kind of how you do it. And you're stretching. It's getting harder and harder. The more you can do that, the easier it gets. There are many, many, many things about that in terms of, now I'm talking about conceptualization in the mind and so on and so forth, being abstract, blah, 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 blah. But also when it comes to being able to memorize, you can externalize some of these things as well. Okay, you may have heard this. And, Tim Ferriss is one of the people that kind of expounds upon this particular kind of technique in terms of putting different images. Like if I'm trying to memorize a number, okay, I'll put like, okay, it's this some kind of 10-digit number. I'll put like 3 digits by my lamp over there, 3 digits over here, and then 3 digits over there. If I can associate, the more I can associate the digits with some other thing, right, the more it stays in my mind. So if you practice this, being able to clear out some space in your mindscape to be able to put stuff in there, it actually stays there longer, or you can actually access it easier, right? Because if you just try to remember the number in this kind of a verbal way, okay, like I'm just going to remember that, like, no, you need to kind of put it somewhere. Okay, and you can imagine it written on your wall, for example, and it actually makes it easier to remember it, because all you got to do is, first of all, you picture the wall, and then the associations begin. But took that to some level of, I went on a slight tangent there to show how this kind of is related in many different aspects. But however, this is the simple practice of holding static images in your head. I use the alphabet. Alphabet is a good one to start with. Now let's talk about dynamic images. Oh, now you're getting to second level stuff. Let me see what's going on in the chat here. Okay. Someone got the D, tried E, but it just fell apart. Exactly. But Felicia, you know that you can get better, right? It's just like any other, we have that intuition that we know, oh, this is something I can get better at. Felicia, give me a 1, or let me know if you get that sense that you could get better with practice. You could get to the E and maybe the F and the G, H, right? You have that sense that you could get better at this. It's not just like, oh, well, there is a limit. The limit is D and it stops. No, you immediately know that, someone's been hiding this little secret from me, and I can get better. Shout out to Nino in the house. Yes, Daryl says yes, you got to anchor things. You got to be able to anchor things, okay? Got to be able to anchor things. I think these things are skills that they should be taught to everyone, and everyone needs to take it as far as they can, okay? Obviously, there's some crazy mad scientist, maybe Dr. Mad over there, okay, that can probably do, he'll do like, He can do the Greek alphabet, and then the Roman alphabet, and then the Arabic alphabet, and then he spins it around in this globe, and then he has these numbers over here, and then he does these other things, and then he zooms out into another galaxy and starts counting in alien land, and he all just keeps it all in his head, and he zooms in and out, and he has this whole universe in there, okay? Point being, we have different capacities, we all also have different talents, and so on and so forth, but you need to be able to stretch yourself as far as possible. It costs no energy to sit there. Well, it does cost energy, let me not lie. But what I'm saying is, it's not like, driving to the gym and exerting yourself, right? So, simple static stuff. Now let's talk about the dynamic stuff. And I'm going to crave your indulgence again one last time before we end this. This is not going to be a long one, as I said, right? And it may be a one to rewatch and so on and so forth. And that's why I don't want to make it too long, because I want it to kind of just stand alone and be its own thing. But I think it's bloody important, man. So, we're back in there. We close our eyes. White sheet of paper. Yes, it's not perfectly white. Unless you're crazy or you're just going into dream state right now. It's not going to be perfectly white. Don't worry about that. White sheet of paper. There are clouds floating on top. There is a moon on the top of the center, clouds floating through, and birds flying by. There is a flame on the bottom left. The flame is bringing out black smoke. There is a pot on the bottom right bringing out white steam. How much of this can you hold? How much of the intermingling of the black smoke and the white steam can you sustain along with the moving clouds, the flying birds, and the moon? As long as you get the concept, as long as you understand what's being done here, you can fill in the blanks by yourself, right? You can put in the middle of the scene, the Hulk and Superman fighting or something. Point is, dynamic scene. The smoke one is very key. One of the toughest ones to do is to mix green smoke, yellow smoke, and blue smoke coming out of 3 pots in the most photorealistic way you can kind of hold this intermingling of this stuff, along with other things that are going on in the scene. And you keep it, you hold it. You keep doing exercises like this, you're practicing concentration. You keep doing exercises like this, you're mastering that space of imagination and your mental images. You're familiarizing yourself. And then, as I mentioned, there are very, very practical results or ramifications or powers that you develop way beyond now just the mastery of subjective consciousness. I know this. Yes, way back at some point, I remember being able to now do certain things that I could not do before, vis-a-vis the study of some engineering classes. Certain things that it was one of the hardest classes I ever took, doesn't matter what it is, but I was also at the same time practicing these kinds of techniques. And then, blah, 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 blah. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I have not said anything strange, anything complicated even. It's very simple. We're formally using certain capacities in order to develop those capacities. Those capacities are key for the mastery of subjective consciousness. Anything that you are, or all that you are, all that you ever will be in the moment is feeling in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. Feeling in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. Feeling in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head take many different flavors and organizations. If you just go to feeling alone, you have internal sensations, they could be emotions, and then you have non-emotional internal sensations, instincts, intuitions, little tingle you get in your spine, a little weird vibe you get from somebody. Those are all internal sensations, okay? And you can identify them. They occur somewhere in your body. It's not in hyperspace, okay? It's not in magic land. It's in there. Being unconscious of those things drives you to do things which make you generally unhappy. That feeling of not being in control. That feeling of dissatisfaction, so on and so forth. Now I'm bloviating, right? Now I'm on my soapbox. Now I'm preaching to you about the ways of the, yeah. A little bit of that is okay sometimes, right? But the reason I'm doing that is because for one, I'm very convinced that this is the most important thing, and hope that you can sense the genuineness of that, right? I don't have to say anything, right? I could just be doing this stuff on my own. But I think it's very important. The formal use of these particular capacities that are key for mastery of subjective consciousness. That's what we're talking about here. And as Chaos Rain comes in the room, we are about to end it. Okay? I wanted this one to be short, kind of stay in its place, and I didn't want it to get into the open up the panel and stuff like that, because as long as this channel is open, as long as I'm still here making content on YouTube, mastery of subjective consciousness will continue to happen. Before I started talking about it formally, I was talking about it riding on my bicycle, which I'll continue to do after when spring comes around. It's cold outside now, if you guys are wondering about my bicycle videos. I talked about being the most comfortable person in the room, right? Go into the room, touch the room, feel the room, taste the room, smell the room, taste the rainbow. So that you can be acclimated, your senses can be acclimated to the room, so that you can influence people in the room. You have a hypnotic effect on people when you are in that state. Being a good performer is about doing that. Being a good salesperson is about doing that. Being a good listener is about doing that. Being happy is about doing that. I talk about listening to the sound of your ear. In other words, this is whether I'm talking about selling, whether I'm talking about influencing, persuasion, business, getting money, how to give, why you should give money away, it all revolves around this stuff. So we'll continue to talk about it as long as I'm here, right? But for today, I wanted this to be a simple standalone about the mental imagery one, because I know that it is kind of like the toughest. So let's keep it nice and clean and neat. Okay? Excellent. So let's do a quick kind of recap, okay, of what we talked about. All right. Generally speaking, what is this? What are we doing here today? What are we doing? We are doing part 4 on how to meditate. If you have not seen the series on why you should meditate, go watch that. That's 4 parts as well. We talk about the utility, okay, from a practical standpoint of meditation, whether you are doing any physical or mental thing, whether you're studying algebra or you're a sniper or you're making free throws, concentration is concentration. It is ubiquitously useful. So we developed these capacities, or we developed in that particular series, like, okay, one episode was concentration. One episode was equanimity, which is relaxation, being able to flow, being unperturbed, so on and so forth. One episode was sensory clarity. And then another one, which I called space for freedom, the most abstract one, okay? Space for freedom. Watch that video. Kind of abstract, right? It's a high level thing. And then we get into how. There are different ways to get this done. Just like if somebody says, hey, there's this thing called cardiovascular health. Hey, there's a way of developing it. Hey, just like anything else that you need to develop, you need to use it formally. Whether it be your eyesight or your hearing or playing the guitar or your muscles or your bones and so on and so forth, you need to use it. The entirety of our existence tends to be a use it or lose it proposition. So when it comes to these particular capacities, sensory clarity, concentration, and equanimity, it is the same thing. The formal use of these capacities is generally called meditation. And it's not the woo, 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 woo crap that people like to tell you, okay? It is still just as important as they make it sound, but it's actually more important more important than they can express, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. We laid out the landscape. We said that you can go in via the body, okay? Via the feelings in your body, okay? That's one big aspect of your subjective consciousness, the feelings in your body. You can go in via the images in your head, okay? You can go in via the talk in your head. These 3 aspects, which your entirety of your subjective consciousness can be divided into at least these 3, okay? And you can take the body and subdivide it into many, many different things, whether it be external sensory perceptions and then internal sensations, which are of the emotional kind or a non-emotional kind or just a back pain kind or whatever. The body is very rich in terms of its subtlety and what it presents to us. Same thing in the mind as well. And I say these things all affect you. Having a back pain that you don't recognize and causing you to think badly about your coworker, you know how it has nothing to do with your coworker, right? It's your back pain, right? But the same thing is true of images that are in your head. Even if you don't know they're there, it's like having a knife in your back. Just because you don't know it's there doesn't mean you're not bleeding to death. There are images that also drive you, just like that back pain will drive you to do things. Being able to have the observer stance, the presence stance, the in the zone stance is key to just about anything you can think about. Is the foundation of any kind of mastery. Also, when you hear CEOs, Mike Tyson, Kobe Bryant, even Floyd Mayweather, when all these people who are at the heights, right, of any particular endeavor pretty much tell you that they do some kind of version of this thing, either they call it visualization or maybe it's even just formal meditation of some kind, then success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. if we were to come from a position of external motivations, right? But it should be obvious to you that mastery of your subjective consciousness is what makes life worth living. The unexamined life is not worth living. And this is what the examination of life is about, not the writing of your history, not your story. Storyville is great too. And we talk about Storyville here as well. Very important part of things, especially when it comes to influencing people and getting groups to do certain things. However, you as an individual, you as a consciousness, you to the degree to which you can be an impartial observer, you need to master this thing. So then we talked about using the breathing. Then we talked about, in part 3, using the ears. And now we are in the realm of internal images. We talked about the formality, how we can use the breathing to undergird a formal kind of thing and use the concentration or use the equanimity that we get from breathing exercises as a way or as an aid to the concentration that is required in order to do these kinds of mental watching. Now we mentioned some simple things you can do. Number one, you got to find the image, okay? It's not the little patterns and flashes of light that you see when you close your eyes. We're talking about thoughts. You find it. Simple exercise. Just go in there and try to find the image of the thought. How much of what, where, changing at what rate? How vivid is it? Is it in color? Is it black and white? How vague is it? How is it changing? Is there a narrative to the changing pattern, or is it just kind of more random association type of change? And then I gave you some simple game on some simple mental exercises that you can do. Hold a piece of paper in your mind, draw A, and then hold A, and then let B appear. Hold A and B, let C appear. Hold A, B, and C, let D appear. Hold A, B, C, and D, let E appear, and see how many you can do. Try to keep on doing it until you can get the full alphabet. If you can get to the point where you got the full alphabet, trust me, it means something. There are all other kinds of things that you're now able to do with your mind that you were not able to do before. We also talked about the dynamic one, okay? It's not just a static picture. There's a scene, there's a moon in the middle, there's clouds moving, there's a fight scene, there's smoke of different colors mixing with each other. The mixing smoke is the hardest one to do. So I think I saw a super chat. Let me go ahead and make sure I get that before I disappear back into the ether, ladies and gentlemen. King Dodongo in the house says this amazing stuff, man. Salute. Well, it's all good. It is my pleasure. I'm glad that you guys find it useful. Well, it is useful. It is the most useful thing. But I'm glad that there's an audience for it. That that there's a couple of people that know about this and also want to participate. Salute, salute, salute. No, someone joined the chat, right? Someone joined the chat, but I can't do that. Not in this stream. This stream was not designed. I'm just kidding. No one joined the chat because I didn't give the link, obviously. Messing with you guys. I'm loosening things back up. I'm going back into Joker mode. Peace out.
the shore, relentless in the war. The legions in our hearts, shed waters in our balls. The spirit and the flesh, the emotions that arrest. The cerebral will contest, propelling the unrest. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded. The teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. With the semblance of a blaze, with gratitude and rage, we touch another page with delirious delight, impervious to light. This vitality and might encourages the flight. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain. The face of evil smirking, with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Conditions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners. Go. Run, 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 make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated, Lord. Run, come, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. Run for the hills, let the will lead the mind. For living is the thrill with the doubt left behind. Amidst all the wicked, there is beauty to behold. Be fearless and intrepid from the depths of our soul. The hands of the steady cleave the rose from the thorn. The sweat of the weary brings us closer to the dawn. The motion of the wheel brings the light to the mind. Be aligned, it's divine. Run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, they come we get it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated, Lord. Run, come, come, make we get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, we come we get it. Run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. Run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated, Lord. Run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters.